Hey guys, gals, and MBs. So today I'm going to make a video on the Strymon El Capistan. I want to say a few things in the beginning of the video here. My new single's out. I will link it below. It's also on my channel. If you don't have any of the major streaming services, it is on major streaming services. I'll link the Spotify one, and yeah. So it is the app, the Monotree project, and the first thing I want to thank my mom for making the picture for me. We went over there last weekend. My significant other and I went over there, and she took pictures of our little scene. My significant other pretty much made the bottles and everything, and then I helped set up the scene, and my mom did the heavy lifting in basically taking the picture, and she did a fantastic job. As you can see here, this is the raw image. Want to bring up the fact that I used to be like mildly against generative AI, but now I'm like completely against it to the point where I'm like militant against it. So I wanted to do something kitschy yet also kind of elegant at the same time, but like in real like still life art, and not some bullshit that people have been doing a lot recently. And I've seen it all over YouTube. People are using generative stupid thumbnails, and they just upset me because they look so ugly and the color schemes look so awful. They always have this weird push to blue and things like that. You can just tell it's like generative AI. It's hideous. And yeah, so, and just as another aside, somebody called my character AI, and I'm like, no, I modeled that character. I mean, I use software to do it, but the software is not AI based. It's like I still had to generate a character from basically scratch character generation on that. And I mean, I even had to edit his hair and everything with actual polygons and not telling a stupid algorithm, hey, make it look like this. And it's like, if you do generative AI, you suck, basically. That's just my whole theory behind it. It's going to ruin the music industry and make the soul-crushing bullshit that you just hear around places. And I don't understand it. It's like you're taking our hobby and turning it into a commoditized or people's jobs, and taking it into a commoditized piece of crap for grifters that can't do it themselves. And you know, there's my rant about AI. I don't use generative AI whatsoever. I think, again, it is absolutely stupid, and I don't think it has a place, especially in our community. But you know, that's my feelings. I know somebody will push back and say, well, I'm too stupid to make my own art, so I'm going to use a algorithm to do it and to tell it words, because that's just as creative as doing it yourself. No, it's not. No, it's not. All right, rant aside, let's go into the whole El Capistan thing. All right, I said in my last video with the Volante that the El Capistan can't be beat when it comes to degenerating or degenerative loops, like in terms of like broken tape loops and things like that, or with frippertronics. I just don't think it can. It has a few caveats. It's not fully stereo. It does add a stereo spread, so that's kind of cool. Something the Volante doesn't do. I know it has a looper that degrades too. It's a little harder to use, and it does not have a stereo spread, and I like the El Capistan as a looper. As a delay, it's great too. It's a fantastic little delay if you can't fit a Volante on your board or don't want to spend the extra money. Though on the used market, it's funny because the Volante actually goes for less money, generally, I've seen, than an El Capistan version 2. So this will work on version 1 and version 2, so don't be like felt left out if you just have a version 1 of the El Capistan. And I have made videos about how I use the El Capistan as a looper, but I'm going to bring up, is it still worth it in 2025? Let's just cut the shit. And yes, it is. It is still one of the best degenerating loops or broken tape loop style looper or frippertronics device, because you can make it sound fairly clean and still tape-ish, I guess. I still think the Volante is a better altogether delay, but it's not a better looper. So I wish they had all the functions of the El Capistan under the hood in the Volante, but it just doesn't. And you have separate wow and flutter tape age, and well, you kind of have tape age controls, but you also have like tapes crinkle and stuff controls on that, and tape biasing controls. They're hidden behind a menu, but you know, we'll hear that in a second. All right, so I have my Astrolab here, and this has become one of my favorite romplers for sure, next to the Wave State. This is a lot easier to use, in my opinion, as a rompler. And I used the piano sounds exclusively in my last actual single that I released. So that said, let's kind of like just explore, shall we? All right, so I have the Hamatsu grand piano, and obviously Hamatsu is the region that Yamaha is in, and since it is an acoustic grand, we can just surmise that it's a Yamaha grand piano that this preset is emulating, and it sounds great. It sounds like a Yamaha acoustic grand, and I like that sound. Doesn't, it's good. So here's what it sounds like. And that is totally dry. We don't have the BigSky being used yet. We'll use that later. El Capistan is off. All the built-in effects are completely off right here. All right, and I have a sustain pedal underneath the table, so we can sustain. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous sounding piano. Has a little bit of stereo spread, and you'll hear the evidence of it being collapsed here and then brought into a mono field, and then a little bit of stereo spread being added. But this shows that this lets the wet signal stay stereo through. I have a one of the Hosa TRS adapters. Actually, hold on. I had to buy some new ones recently because my old ones, over 7 years old, started shorting out. But yeah, this is what you use. These aren't very expensive, at least right now until the orange shit stain tariffs go into place. I think these are made in Taiwan, so maybe we won't see them. Oh God, speaking of the shit stain tariffs. God damn, have you seen the prices of the TO5? It's like $18.99, $1,900 now. I don't think it's worth it at that price. Get a mono poly, just get a module. Trust me on that. Or get a used TO5 if you can find them. That's bloody fucking insane. All right, that rant over. So yeah, let's get into this. Sorry, tangents. All right, so we have that going, and to make this work, what we want to do is we want to be in mode C. So you got multiple modes. Mode C is the looper mode, and that's it. You just set it in the looper mode. I don't think the tape head selection makes any difference in the looper mode. Maybe it does. No, it does. I'm an idiot. You have to be down in the multi mode, and then you have to be down in C. That turns on the looper. Yeah, so that's how sorry, we're not even in the multi-mode. God, don't listen to me. Sorry, we have to be in the single mode, which is the lowest mode on this thing. And then we have to be on mode C, and that turns you into the looper. All right, so in this mode, all the controls work. Time is kind of binary. Time only has 2 settings. On the far right over here, past noon, is the longest recording time, lowest fidelity, and on the far left it's the shortest recording time that you can make, but with the highest fidelity. All right, so to start a tape splice, what you do is you turn this on. Well, this actually starts recording. Tap starts recording, but you can also think of this as starting the tape splice. That's how I do it. You can either start recording by pressing this down and starting whatever you want to loop, like a normal looper, or you could do this, which you can do on a lot of normal loopers too. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So it's like a 6-second loop. You don't hear anything, but it is now in overdub mode, like on a traditional looper. And we can use this for frippertronics style disintegrating loops, like sound. I said degenerating loops, like a degenerate. If you've ever played Baldur's Gate, one of the characters will call you degenerate if you do a certain thing in that game. So just, yeah, if you know, you know. Anyway, so I was talking about that to my significant other today. That's why I kept saying degenerate. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that's set. Now we have a loop. It's infinitely recording now, over and over again, and your wow and flutter tape age and all that become the degradation of the loop. So let's hear that. All right. Just being a little quiet in the opening there, but it's very clean, right? No wow and flutter, and the tape crinkle is turned off. So tape crinkle sits behind a menu. Let's hear that. That's the most noticeable. Wow, actually, we can hear a wow and flutter too. Right? Okay. Also, repeats play into this as well. At around 3:30, you get it doesn't self-oscillate, and it keeps like going for quite some time if you don't increase tape age and things like that. So I keep it around there. It's my personal preference. Experiment. So if you hold the on button, you get to the secondary menu. It'll blink. You're now in the secondary menu, and wow and flutter becomes tape crinkle. If we turn it way up, putting some more fresh stuff into the audio buffer, you can hear that crinkle. It's really gorgeous, actually. You heard it originally with no tape crinkle. Okay, so really nice. By default, with factory settings, you are stuck at noon. So let's just do that. The thing is each repeat now will still have that original tape crinkle that we had when it was super degraded, right? Just keep going with that, so you don't hear any change. But now, the clean audio will be a lot cleaner. Yeah, see, it's a little, there's still some tape crinkle, but it's cleaner. We'll keep it there for the remainder of the video. I like it about there. Maybe a little less, maybe like there. But as you can see, if you see that tap light, how it actually changes color. It's a little subtle here because of my studio lighting. It's in the same color band as some of those settings. But right around there, we'll keep it like that, right? And there is a new program you can download from Strymon that shows you the secondary function of their pedals, which makes it kind of easy. There's some tape biasing controls I won't go over. I think it's biased perfectly. So, but yeah, it'll help you with that. So I'll get out of the secondary menu. Now we're in the primary menu. Just tap on after you're in the secondary menu. Now you're in the primary menu. Now wow and flutter and tape age work again. So let's turn tape age up to about halfway. That's where I like it. And let's hear the tape age. So to clear a tape loop, it's really easy to press tap again, and let's start a new loop. See, I can, like I said, you can also use that to start the recording. See? All right. But you can hear where it collapses the stereo field from our initial Astrolab signal and adds a little bit of stereo magic to the end of it. It's nice. It's a lot nicer than the Volante's looper, where it doesn't add any other stereo spread to the looper portion. Now the Volante is a better delay. It has the ping pong. Well, it's not ping pong, but you can spread the heads. It can make this beautiful stereo image. I will make another video again where the El Capistan is beside the Volante, and you can just use those two together to make this magical, beautiful, just orchestra of sounds. But for now, let's get some fresh audio. I'm talking too much, but all right. So let's hear tape age. We're going to turn it all the way up to exaggerate it. It's not your traditional filtering if you listen to it. It's very complex. It has the sound of magnetic tape giving up its ability to store audio. Has a bit of high pass filtering, definitely cuts your lows. And it degrades every time it goes through. So yeah, I think that's gorgeous. And that's what sets this apart from practically any other looper on the market. Just that beauty that you get from disintegrating, degenerate loops, degrading loops. And it's beautiful. And even as a delay, this is a really nice delay, but we're not going to cover that in this video. You can add a spring reverb to it, but I hate springs. They're awful. Especially when you take apart a piece of equipment that has a spring in it and you lose it across the room. So maybe that's where my hatred for springs comes from. No, I'm just kidding. I just don't like spring reverbs. I mean, they're really cool in theory because you literally have a physical spring vibrating in the device and you have a transducer and a pickup doing, you know, magic to give you some reverb, but they're just not ambient reverb, and I don't like that. I like ambient reverb. All right, so enough of that. You can see that goes on for a long time in the repeats, but with the tape age up, it's very beautiful. So yeah, so let's do this. Let's just turn the repeats all the way down, and you can hear it. With the repeats all the way down, you basically get one repeat. But again, with that wow and flutter tape crinkle and stuff like that. So yeah, so around 3 o'clock, maybe a little less if you want it to degrade faster. And then the tape age obviously plays in that. If the tape age is all the way down, it even takes longer to totally fade out. But yes, I know there's loopers on the market that have fade out functionality. This isn't the same. This is degrading your loop over and over again. It's like something you would get on a disintegrating tape loop or something frippertronics style, like a Brian Eno composition, or with it was Robert Fripp, right? I always forget. Is it Robert? Was his first name? Anyway, King Crimson guy. Yeah, famous for the frippertronics thing. So yeah, tape age. Very fun to play with on that. And let's do some other fun things. I'm sorry if you hear a background in there. One of my stupid neighbors has a piece of shit car with a fart tip on it. Yeah, if you live in certain areas, you know what I'm talking about. God, I hate that guy. All right, so let's do this. That's a good amount. Let's do this tape age like this. We'll do that. And let's hear this really quick with the BigSky MX. I'm in the cloud algorithm. When you turn it on, one of the default settings is the cloud algorithm. Let's bring the mix up a little bit. Let's bring the mod way up. And we'll try some other instruments as well, and down the line I'll use like the monopoly or something through here, which also sounds absolutely gorgeous, and maybe we'll even bring my favorite analog synth of all time at this point, the Polybird, into it, or even the Peak. Okay, so one thing is, people are asking me, do I prefer the Polybrute to the Peak? No, I think they're both very different synths, and I'm glad I have both of them. So listen with your own ears. Either one, they're both absolutely good. I will say now, because Novation products have also skyrocketed in price, if you can't get a used Novation Peak or a Summit or something like that, the Summit's actually my personal favorite digital hybrid synth because it's bitimbral. But yeah, I would look for a used one if you're looking at a Summit, because the new ones are just astronomically insane now. I think they've went up to almost they're like $28.99 now. That's insane. Yeah, I know it's the orange shit stain's fault, but that said, yeah, people have been asking me a lot about which one I prefer. I don't. I think they're both great. They both have different purposes, so I can't recommend one over the other. They're very different synths. I mean, yes, they both. Well, no, they're very different synths, so never mind. Yeah, all right. So yeah, we have that, a beautiful sound. And let's go ahead and see what it sounds like with the disintegrating loops. So let's turn the repeats a little like that. And that's gorgeous, isn't it? That's just insanely gorgeous. You can see why I love it so much. And yeah, it's so easy to use in this mode versus the volantes. All the degrading or disintegrating loop functionality on that is behind a secondary menu. It's a little painful to use in my opinion. It doesn't add the stereo spread. It is a secondary function. It's just not the same for me. I mean, yeah. I mean, again, Volante I believe is a better delay pedal in general, but the El Capistan is the best disintegrating looping pedal on the market right now. And it pains me to say that because it's not stereo. You know what? I want to call out Strymon on this one. I know they're probably not going to listen or do anything in this regard, but if you made a frippertronics pedal that had the magic of the El Capistan, I think it would sell incredibly well. Especially if you have some good marketing and demo material behind it and you really showed off what it could do. You could even put it in the smaller form. I don't know if you could put it in the smaller form factor because you only have the 1 foot switch, but I would put it in this form factor and have some kind of like frippertronic style disintegrating loop pedal. You'd hit all the marks for being in the cool crowd of pedals because Strymon kind of has a reputation, if you know what I mean, has a reputation of being with the awful church Jesus crowd of things where, you know, you have more money than sense to throw at your band setup, and you're going to, you know, leverage having this trifecta, as they call it, setup. But in the ambient context, if you're making ambient music, fantasy music, and things like that, like I do, there's not really many other companies that make any better pedals than that. I will say that Hologram Electronics sure does. The microcosm is something I can't live without. I just absolutely can't. My last song used it. I think all my songs are going to use the microcosm. But you make a frippertronic style pedal, and oh my god, I think it will be like one of those like revolutionary pedals where people really like flock to your brand even if they don't like the Strymon stuff in general. It's just, it would be unique. Yes, I know there's some disintegrating loopers out there. They just don't work the same way. I had a blooper. It did not do the frippertronics thing as well as I wanted it to. I had the Habit mono again. You make it fully stereo and it would be cool. But yeah, like the Habit got kind of close, but it was mono and it did its own thing. Habit was pretty cool from Chase Bliss. The blooper, also mono, could not really do the frippertronic thing the way I wanted it to do it. You could kind of degrade your loops, just not in a easy to do way like this, but yeah. Okay, I digress. Let's move over to just listening to another demo of what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off. And I really hate the Beatles. Yeah, that's weird. You know, I'm going all around tangents right now, but there is a patch on here I absolutely love, and it is called Strawberry Flutes, and obviously you know what that is. It's Strawberry Fields. It's the Mellotron flute sound from that song. Let's go ahead and turn off the reverb and hear that. Turn off the reverb there. Oh, okay. So here's the one caveat to this one. It does not go past here when you're in zero transposition. And I think this is the maximum right there, yeah, so. Which makes sense because the Mellotron has physical tape loops in it, and it doesn't have any electronics to pitch shift, obviously, because it is purely electromechanical. So if you don't have any tape loop for that key in particular, then it's not going to have a sound there, so. All right, we're going to turn up the time. All right, this one's really perfect, though. If you have the reverb off, we can actually hear the stereo spread that it gets added to in the El Capistan. Plus, it sounds gorgeous through it, so here. Of course, I hit the wrong damn note, but let's just we'll clear the repeats really quick because I don't want to change the tape length because I think it sounds absolutely gorgeous with that tape length. So we'll go back up here and let's make that work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in strings in a second, but you heard it with the stereo spread directly from the El Capistan. So then we're going to bring in the cloud algorithm. So you have the different layers just like harmonizing with each other, and it's absolutely gorgeous. There's just so much emotion there. I love it. All right, let's go over to the string section here. We're gonna use cello and strings. All right, I'll bring up the time, but yeah, let's kick in some strings into that. Let's turn off the reverb, the effects, time. Bringing the brightness down. Bringing the flute back in. That's gorgeous. So turn the repeats down so it'll fade out a little faster. But yeah. So I feel like I'm going to use that sound in a song in my Monotree productions, especially with the new album that I'm working on. But I might not. I might bring that. So I have two music projects. I have one called At the Monotree and I have one called Dragon Shaped Clouds. And I'm going to continue both of those projects, but I don't know if this is more of a ambient. Well, that's very fantasy-esque, isn't it? Yeah, I'm being very animated over here because I'm so excited about those sounds. They're so gorgeous. Beautiful. Yeah, so, but now you get where my joy from the El Capistan comes into place. Like I said, calling out Strymon on this one, make a degrading tape looper and send me one for free, and obviously. So that said, I think it'll be an absolutely gorgeous pedal if you just made a disintegrating stereo tape looper. And again, it would be super, super like unique on the market. And you already have the platform to do it technically. I mean, add some more RAM to the CPU on that, and I'm sure you can do it. And you people over there have the DSP chops to do it. So yeah. All right. Well, that said, that's kind of just what I wanted to like demo. I mean, I've made a video on the El Capistan's looper and how I use it, but I wanted a more fleshed out one. Mainly wanted to state, is it still worth it in 2025? Yes, there's nothing like it. Show me another looper out there that does exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. Don't say, oh, this can kind of do it. No, I mean, degrading loops, easy to use, and, you know, stereo through, even though it's not a stereo, the algorithm inside isn't stereo, it sums to mono, at least to stereo input. And yes, I know you can kind of get away with it on the Zoya, but the Zoya is very complicated. I still have my Zoya, don't worry, I didn't get rid of that. I have other uses for that. I don't like demonstrating my Zoya on camera because it is about as fun to demonstrate as demonstrating, you know, Excel spreadsheets on camera, because it's so complicated to walk through. I'm going to use it in my music mainly, so, you know, that's what that's for. All right, well, let's call it a video. This has been long. I've been very rambly. I've been off topic, on topic, crazy things, everything in between there. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I will start making videos on how I do the productions to my new album, so don't worry about that. I'll show you how I get my sounds and everything. That'll be kind of sprinkled in between other stuff I want to do. I probably should bring out the multi-poly again in my next video, because Bad Gear did a video on that, and I know that that thing's popular again. The module is kind of out of stock everywhere right now, unfortunately. If you can nab one before the prices get astronomical, I don't think that the module is worth more than $1,000, so don't ever pay more than $1,000 for it if the tariffs are going to ruin everything. But damn, now that the TO5 is an insane price, I think that the multi-poly is just the synth that I recommend for everybody at this point if they just want a synth that can pretty much do it all except like Rompler stuff. I think all the Korg R&D synths are fantastic. Wave State, the Op6 and the multi-poly. I don't know about the, oh no, I had a mod wave for a brief period of time. I really didn't like that one. So, but that said, the multi-poly and the Op6 and the Wave State are definitely worth it. Yeah. So anyway, I'll stop here. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video and talk to you later. Bye.